in any programming, the core concept, one of the core concept is variable. And the related with the variable is literal. So what is a variable? In previous section, we talked about computer organization, and we mentioned everything is stored in computer's memory. A variable is a named storage location or address in the computer's memory where you can operate, you can read, you can write. And because you can read and write, a variable can change its value when the program is executed. On the other hand, a literal is a value that is written into the code of the program, so you will not be able to change it. Programmers will determine the number and type of variables a program will need. Let's quickly show an example of variables. So you will define a variable called value. This value will point into a location in memory. Then we assign this variable the value of 5. Then once you print out the value is, you will see the printout is 5. And you can see the value is 5. What if I change this to 15? You can see there are two printouts. The first printout prints the 5, the first value, but then I can change it to 15. And the next value got print out is 15. So that's what we call it variable because it is variable. You can change it. So let's look at in a more detailed. This line is called a variable declaration, where you define variable as an integer. Then the following line is known as an assignment statement, where you assign the value 5 to this variable called value. And behind the scene, you have a memory space where 1 byte or 1 word or a block of memory is allocated for this variable called value. When Java Virtual Machine sees value, it knows you are referring to this memory space. And when you do this assignment, value equals to 5, Java Virtual Machine will put this value 5 into the space where value variable is located at. Then here the value is actually a literal. You will not change it in the program. No matter how you change the variable value, this string will remain the same, but the integer variable will be changing. And because this is variable name, it's recognizable by Java Virtual Machine, so there's no quotation marks around it. If you add quote around it, it becomes a string. Once you have integer, I believe most people will start to think about addition and minus, all these mathematical operations. Java does have an operator plus. The operator can be used in two ways. In Java, plus is more than arithmetic calculation. It can be an addition operator as what it originally means. It can also serve as a concatenation operator for strings. If either side of a plus is a string, the result will be a string. Let's show this. Let's utilize this in a program. So as we run this, hello world, you can see that hello and world are printed together. And note here, hello has a space, so there's a space between them. These two strings are concatenated together. Now, the value is plus 5. This side is a string, this side is an integer. Similarly, this side is a string, and this side is an integer, a variable with integer value. Or like here, this side string plus a character plus a variable. I'm sorry, plus an integer. But either way, because one side is string, so the whole output is string. Similarly, one side is string, the whole output is string. And for the last one, it starts with this string plus a character. And because one side is string, the whole part, the value is plus this new character, the new lines character is a string. Then this string plus 5 plus an integer is again a string. Java comments that have string literals must be treated with care. It can cause a lot of confusions and trouble, and one of our course objectives is for you to learn how to manipulate string. So string processing will be throughout our course. Today we are just starting from the very basic. A string literal value cannot span lines in the Java source code file. Let's try what will happen if you do this. Well, let me break it into lines. Then you can see Eclipse actually automatically add plus here. If I delete this, there will be an error. You cannot span this with more than one line. In order to concatenate, or in order to handle such a long string, you have to do what you just see Eclipse did. Use separate string literals and use plus sign to concatenate them. And string concatenation can also join various data types. Like here, you have a string plus a string. And remember, this plus operator happens from left to right. So the first thing happening is this string plus the second string form one string. Just because these two are in the same line does not mean they will be run first. Instead, the first thing happening is first string plus second string. Then the whole result will go to be concatenated with this 5. The concatenation operator can be used to format complex string objects, especially with /n and /t, all this formation. But notice that if an addition operator is also needed, it must be put in parentheses. Here is an example. This string is too long, so I'll use a simplified version. Plus 5 plus 6. Now, guess what's going to be printed out here? Is that going to be simple calculation 11? If you think yes, then this is a very common mistake. You can see it actually is simple calculation 5, 6. Why? Because this calculation happens one at a time. So remember we said concatenation or the plus sign happens from left to right. So the first thing happening is you are concatenating simple calculation with 5. And the result of this is a string simple calculation 5. Then this simple calculation 5 string will be concatenate with 6, which will form simple calculation 5, 6. If you want to calculate 5 plus 6 and concatenate this with a string, you need to use parentheses to indicate this must be calculated first. So remember, concatenation happens from left to right, and its data type is evaluated one at a time. In order to change the order of calculation, use parentheses. This is what it says here. Now, identifiers are programmer-defined names. Variable is a type of identifier. Classes, class names, and method names are also identifier. And remember, identifiers may not be any of the Java reserved keywords like class or method or public or void. Identifier must follow certain rules. An identifier may only contain letters, A to Z, and remember Java is case sensitive. The digits 0 to 9 underscore or the $sign. The first character may not be a digit. It has to be starting with underscore, $sign, or A to Z. Then following characters can be any of these. And identifiers are case sensitive. It cannot include spaces. So I would leave this to you to play with it, to try all different combinations, like case sensitive or insensitive, or if identifiers include space. It will be fun to explore. And here is a list of Java key reserved keywords. Your identifier name cannot be any of these. For example, boolean. I'm just randomly pick up one, and I'm trying to change my name, my variable name here, and you can see immediately there's an error because I cannot use boolean as my variable name. And variable names should be descriptive. Descriptive names allow the code to be more readable. For example, what do you think about this TR? What is TR? It can mean anything, but sales tax rate is more clearer, right? Java programs should be self-documenting, meaning whoever read your code should be able to at least have a good guess on what you want to do with your program without you standing next to him and telling him or her. And Javas have certain naming conventions. We already run into them previously. Variable names should begin with lowercase and then switch to title case. And title case means each word should start with the uppercase followed by lowercase. The next word start with the uppercase and followed by lowercase. Class name should be all title case. Oops. Package and the project name should always be lowercase. Package names should always be lowercase. More Java naming conventions can be found here. Right? A general rule of thumb is that class and the variables should tend to be nouns or noun phrases. So these are the naming conventions.